Welcome to Unstuck, the podcast for solo business owners who want things to feel better. Formerly known as Life in Business, this show is still the same honest advice and practical support that you've come to expect, just with a name that fits even better. I'm Libby Langley, business coach, author, and your no-nonsense guide to making business feel lighter, clearer, and more doable. Each week, I'll help you untangle what's in your head, get clear on what matters, and move forward without burning out or starting from scratch. Here's this week's episode. If you've ever sat at your desk thinking, I should be further along by now, or wondering why everything still feels heavy, even though you're doing all the right things, this episode is for you. Hello. I'm Libby Langley and welcome to Unstuck. How exciting. We have a new name. This podcast, as you probably know, used to be called Life in Business. And if you've been here for a while, thank you. Very appreciate you. Love you. From today, it's called Unstuck. And it's not just a name change. I've thought long and hard about this, actually. It's a reflection of what I see so many solo business owners struggling with. You know, that horrible in-between place where you're doing the work, you're showing up, but it still feels like off. And Unstuck is about helping you find your way through that. It's not magic answers, soz. It's about clarity, support, and a real reminder that you're not broken, right? That you're just ready for something to shift. And that's why the episode title of this episode is what it is. You know, you're not broken. You're just ready for something to change. This isn't about kind of plastering stuff up, you know, sticking plaster solutions or anything like that. This podcast is about real solutions that are from the foundations up, that are sustainable solutions and things that you can carry with you through your business. Whether your business stays the same as it is or whether you pivot or whether you change it. The foundations are what is going to help you be successful and be happy. And that's what we want. We want happiness. So the reason that I decided to do this rebrand is that I've realised that so much of the work I do with my clients in my Confidence to Grow program, and prior to that, to be honest, in one-to-one work I did in previous programs that I've run, and honestly as well, the journey that I've been on myself, the long journey in business since I started in 2011, it's about getting unstuck. That's what it's about. It's not about scaling or hitting 10K months or, anything like that. It's about making business feel lighter, clearer, more doable. That's the simple thing that 95% of my clients want. They just want things to be easier and more profitable and more joyful. But it's not about scale. It just isn't. It's about getting unstuck. And that is what this space is here to help you with. So it felt like a really good time to do a rebrand and to do a proper reframe. I mean, Life in Business, what episode number is this? 129. So Life in Business had been going for 128 episodes and very, successfully. Listener numbers growing and great feedback and all of this. And, I love you for being here if you've been here from the start, and I love you if this is your first one. But I just was thinking, something isn't quite right with it. And I don't know what that is. And I've never actually thought that the content wasn't right. And certainly the feedback I get from you is how much it's helped you. And I had this aha moment because of something you said. And my clients, my Confidence to Grow clients, and most of them listen to the podcast every week. So, it's really kind of supplementary as well to the work that I do with my clients, as well as being a standalone resource. So hi to you if you're not a client and hi to you if you are. But it being, I kind of realised that it was the name that was wrong. And the name of things, generally speaking, doesn't matter all that much. I mean, nobody cares what your program or your service or your package is called, apart from you, right? But the difference with a podcast or a YouTube channel or or something like that, is that you need to bring an element of searchability to it. You need to bring an element of SEO to it, and you need to bring an element of that initial, when people are scrolling, they need to think, that might be good. And whilst life in business, I mean, it talked very much about life in business, right? Living the life of being a business owner. But I felt it was that as a title was too story-based rather than solution-based. And I know I'm very solution-driven. I know that I give you every week, I give you strategies and tips and support and everything that you can have. So yeah, so that's kind of why. And so we're unstuck. We're getting unstuck together. And yeah, it's great. So yeah, if you want to share on your socials that you're now listening to Unstuck with Libby Langley, then that'd be super. So take a screenshot or share it and spread the word. Let's get more people unstuck, more solo business owners, less stuck. Thank you very much. So what are the signs that you might be stuck, and what can you do about it? Being stuck doesn't always manifest itself in an overly dramatic way. It's not necessarily not necessarily running down the street, waving your arms in the air or anything like that. It's not necessarily a super dramatic thing. It's not always about kind of lying on the floor in a heap, sobbing into your to-do list, although, we've all been there, right? But more often it's a kind of quiet, subtle thing that's easier to dismiss. You've got your to-do list, you can be working through it, but it sort of doesn't feel like purposeful. It feels like just doing. It doesn't feel like there's the movement forward. And sometimes you're fighting with too many clients. You're really struggling because of overwhelm in that regard. And sometimes you just are kind of going through the motions of stuff. Or maybe you're taking too much time off for the position, the financial position that you're in, for example. It can look like lots of things feeling stuck, right? And I've been in all of those places in my nearly 14 years in business. So you're absolutely not alone. But it is kind of easy to dismiss sometimes. But I would say it's like a critical thing in your business. Absolutely. Because if you're stuck, you're never going to be happy and you're never going to get anywhere, let alone where you want to be. But you don't know where you want to be because you haven't kind of thought about that. So it's just a shit place to be, right? And it will be costing you energy, for sure. It will be costing you clarity and it will be denting your confidence. And that's a really hard thing. If you haven't got the confidence in yourself or what you're doing, how is anyone else going to have that? And it just makes it harder and harder and harder to get clients. Yeah. And the world's not, there's a lot of competition these days. It's not as, perhaps people think twice about investing, about spending money on things. And, so it kind of is, the business world is a slightly different place than it used to be, really. Not to say you cannot be enormously successful, but if you've lost that confidence and you are feeling stuck, it can feel 100 times harder, right? And we don't want that. I do not want that for you. So what I'm going to do is give you some signs, really. I'm going to do a little diagnostic tool for you to help you work out whether you're stuck or not. And these are from my own experience. These are from what my clients say, and maybe they resonate with you too, right? And if you see yourself in any of these, please do not despair, because Libby is here to help you with her Unstuck podcast. Yeah. So, sign number 1. You're doing more, but you're enjoying it less. And this is one that I do hear a lot. And I guess I've done it too, not for a while now, but, you kind of keep adding stuff in. You maybe keep adding different services because someone said you need to stack your services. So you need a £27 thing and you need a right up to a £5,000 thing and 10 things in the middle. And so you've added more and more and more in, but you're actually enjoying it less. Or perhaps you've been told that you need to post 10 times a day on social media. Christ, that would just kill my soul doing that. I remember years ago, one of the first coaches I worked with, she was an Australian, and this was 2015, maybe, I think, 2015, maybe 2013, can't remember. Anyway, I found her on Facebook, and some things that she said were incredibly helpful. And I spent about $6,000 over 3 months with her, a couple of grand a month. And I know that I earned back 20 grand from that. I remember it really clearly. And I've talked about this before. So the return on investment was fine, right? Was great, super. And she was quite specifically a sort of, I suppose, a sales funnel coach. But one thing that she said, and bear in mind, like, this is a decade plus ago, she said, you need to post 10 times a day on Facebook, because that was really the primary one then, 10 times a day on Facebook in order to kind of get the traction. And what she said is true to a certain extent, because it's never been a case of everybody seeing everything that you share, right? Never. It's 10% if you were in the height of it, if you were extremely lucky. Now it's like 1 or 2%. It's really tough. So in theory, the more you post, the more likely things are to get more likely people are to see things. But that's really hard work. I do not, and you make you a full-time content creator, right? I do not have the time, energy, or resource for that. And so maybe that's kind of, you've heard that advice still now, and you're showing up, you're posting, you're delivering stuff, and maybe you're even hitting your financial goals. Maybe you're doing that too. But all of this extra, these extra products, these extra services, this extra delivery, this extra posting, it feels flat, right? Maybe it feels flat. Maybe it feels like you're ticking boxes rather than building something that actually feels good. And that's a real sign of being stuck, right? Stuck might not be the word you use. Flat might be the word you use. Frustrated might be, might be the word you use. But here's what to try instead. So stop adding stuff in, right? Stop adding and doing more, because you're going to go kaput, right? Your brain is going to explode. Start subtracting stuff. Think about what you can let go of, even if that's on a temporary basis, to create some breathing room. Maybe instead of posting multiple times a day, you post a few times a week. Maybe you have a week off social media and just see what happens. Maybe you stop, you do a kind of calculation of which are your most profitable services, and you stop offering all the others. Like for me, if you want to work with me, then come join Confidence to Grow. It's like, not come join Confidence to Grow. Oh, and you can do this, and there's this, and there's this. It's like, come join Confidence to Grow, or don't. Really, it's not to sound like a dick when I say that, but it's like, that's the way to work with me, and it's an absolutely fantastic coaching space to be in, I tell you. So if you are stuck, do come join us. But I say it to illustrate the point that you can just have one thing. That's absolutely fine. And it makes it easier. So what can you let go of? And, clarity, it really does often come from doing less, right? Not doing more. And it comes from pausing long enough to realize what actually matters. That's why often when you go on holiday, or even just away for the weekend, even just out for a walk sometimes, you get some really good answers. It's because you're just giving yourself some breathing space and some headspace rather than doing all the time. A doing business is not sustainable, because you will die, you will drop dead from exhaustion, and that's not good. So take stuff out. And also, let me just remind you of the reason that you started your business in the first place, right? I will put money on the fact that you started it for more financial freedom and more time freedom, right? So filling every moment with doing stuff, more, ain't creating, quite frankly, either of those. But you might find that you're earning more, but you're knackered, right? And you're enjoying it less. So give yourself a bit of breathing space and stop doing so much. Stop adding, start subtracting. Okay. Sign number 2 that you're stuck. You keep fixing things, but you still feel kind of foggy. You've changed your offer. You've tweaked your niche. You've signed up to some new course, and yet nothing's really shifted. Yeah? How many times have you been taken in by some clever marketing and bought a course, even if it's a cheap course, but you've bought a course because that's what's going to fix everything? How many times? I've done it over the years, for sure. Absolutely. For me, it's kind of, I love learning. I love learning stuff, right? I love learning stuff, and I love knowing a lot of things because it will help my clients. But that does not mean I need to know everything, because I've been in business so long and I've run my business in so many ways and I've worked with so many other businesses. If I never learn anything else, I probably know, like enough to support most solo business owners out there, right? And yet we forget that, right? We forget that we know so much because there's this one thing that somebody says, and we think, we don't know that. I need to learn that because that will fix everything. That will get me out of this funk. This will stop this kind of feeling. Yeah? Not true. Okay? Not true. So instead of doing that or changing your offer again, honestly, if it's £100 either way, it ain't going to make no difference in the long run. So tweaking your pricing isn't going to make that much difference. People will still buy from you if they want to buy from you, and if they like you, they still will, whatever the price. So don't worry about putting your price down. If anything, put it up. And your niche. I mean, you do need to have your niche. You do need to. It does make a difference, because it's easier for people to know that you're talking to them. But if you're constantly tweaking your niche, it means that you don't have these solid foundations in your business. You don't know really what it is that you stand for. And you don't know really what it is that you want from your business. You don't know, what your vision, your mission, your purpose are. These really solid foundations that you need in business. And that's the stuff to work on. Because then your niche will become way clearer. And you go, oh no, I don't want to work with them. Right. Well, why were you niching down in that area then? Yeah. It makes everything much easier. So instead of kind of asking yourself, what should I do next? What do I need to do next? Try asking yourself, what do I want this to feel like? And that's a way more powerful question to ask yourself, because, what should I do next is like just, it's not really thought led, it's action led. And for sure, you need to take actions in order to move forward, right? Absolutely. But if it's all kind of, how do I want this to feel? Then you're immediately going to get some answers, some different answers than just what are the tasks that need doing. How do I want this to feel? Oh, I want it to feel really easy. I want to be able to just take afternoons off when I want. Right. So filling your diary with one-to-one sessions with clients is not going to help that then, is it? Because you can't take time off if your diary's crammed. But if you just do those sessions on a Tuesday or a Thursday, then you can take some time off on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday. See, sometimes it's really subtle shifts and boundaries that, that make the big difference here, right? You're in control of all this stuff. You can make all of these decisions. So ask yourself, what do I want this to feel like? And I bet you get some different answers and some tough decisions that you have to make too, for sure, largely about your own behaviour. But, that's the kind of stuff I can support you with, right? But most solo business owners do not need another strategy, right? You know how to do your thing. You know how to do it. You don't need another strategy. What you need to do is realign with your own voice, with your vision, with your mission. That's it, right? I say that's it because it's quite a lot of work. But that's the kind of thing I help my clients with, right? It's, you can do all this stuff. Okay. So sign number 3 that you're a bit stucky work is you're second guessing everything again. Every idea, every thought becomes a spiral, right? Every decision gets parked or actioned on, which I don't know which is worse sometimes. You start every single thing and you can't finish any of them, or you never start anything. Yeah, I don't know. They're equally draining, right? And you get stuck in your own head. And honestly, that is utterly exhausting. This thought spiral of, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Yeah, it's really tough. And the reason for that is you're kind of like, you're either over planning and, creating a 5-year plan. You don't need a 5-year plan. Who cares what you're doing in 5 years' time? You're a business owner, you're an entrepreneur, you might, who knows what will happen in 5 years' time? That doesn't matter, right? And that's not going to happen today. You're not a corporate with shareholders to, to placate or funding that you need to draw down for long-term stuff, right? You don't need that. What you need is a simple next move, right? Have your vision in your mind. This is what I'd love it all to be like, right? What is the one thing I can do today that's going to get me very slightly further forward to that? Brilliant. I'll do that. And then the next day, what is the one thing I can do that gets me slightly further to where I want to be? Brilliant. I'll do that. Not these 33 other things, and not posting 10 times a day on goddamn social media, right? It's not the thing that's going to make the difference. It really, really isn't. So, a 1% tweak, a 10% tweak, yeah? Not a 50% tweak and not a 100% tweak. Tiny little steps, incremental gains. Those are the things that are going to move you forward. Something small that gives you a little bit of momentum and reminds you that you can move forward, even if it's imperfect, right? Even if it's something that's moving you to where you want to be. And what I want to say is that feeling stuck, those 3 signs that I've given you, that, you're doing more but enjoying it less, you keep fixing things, but you still feel a bit kind of foggy and you're second guessing everything again. Those are the things that you will be able to identify kind of what's up, if that makes sense. And this I'm just stuck, right? Okay, we can unstick you. That's a problem identified and solutions are available. But feeling stuck, don't feel down if you're like, oh, I've resonated with all of this. That's massive, right? That's a thing to celebrate because you know what's up. Yeah, you don't have to keep chucking more stuff at everything because that's not the solution. It's like a bit of breathing space, moving forward gently, one step at a time, knowing where you want to go, simplifying, doing less, knowing what makes you feel good, right? That's the stuff that matters. And feeling stuck doesn't mean that you're lazy or flaky or bad at business. Far from it, right? It means you've been carrying too much on your own for too long. And that is why I rebranded this to Unstuck, right? To remind you that there is another way. Yeah? Remind you that there's another way to do this. There is an easier way to do this. There's a more fun way to do this. And you're not alone. Ta-da, here I am to help you. So, what to expect from Unstuck moving forward? Well, each week I will be here in your ear again every Thursday as normal. That's not changing. Length of the episodes, not changing. I'll be continuing to share honest advice and practical strategies that are going to help you move forward in your business. Without, as ever, I will never pressure you to hustle. I will never pressure you to scale. And I certainly will never pressure you to have it all figured out, right? That is why I am here, providing you with a safe space to get some inspiration, to feel heard and understood, and to help you to kind of unpick in your brain what's going on and to make life easier for yourself and better. So you will continue to hear solo episodes from me. I might possibly do a very, very occasional guest chat if I did that episode with Denise Duffield Thomas a few weeks ago. And if there are people that I admire, respect, and are suitably interesting, I may chuck a few guest chats in, but I may not. Who knows? It's certainly not a strategy to have regular guest chats. But there will always be a heavy dose of permission for you to do things your way, because this is your business, so do it your way. So, welcome to Unstuck. So exciting. I'm so excited by it, really. And it's much easier to say than life in business too. It's just shorter. It's better. So if you're ready for things to feel different, you are in the right place. Welcome, my friend. It's nice to have you here. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. Just makes it easier. And if you want some more support on this, then go to libbylangley.com/stuck and you can get my free guide on how to feel unstuck. Okay, it'll ask you some additional questions and give you some extra support that I maybe haven't covered here, but certainly you can read it rather than listening to it. So here we go with Unstuck, the podcast, and we say bye-bye to life in business. So thank you for joining me today. And if you're feeling stuck, do contact me on Instagram at Libby Langley, or you can find me on LinkedIn, Libby Langley, or email me or whatever. You'll find me. I'm Libby Langley all over the internet. And let me know. Let me know what's come up for you. Let me know what you're stuck with. And yeah, let's have a chat. Let's chat it out. All right. Lots of love. And I'll see you next week. See ya. Bye. Thanks for listening to Unstuck. Make sure you follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you enjoyed today's show, I'd love it if you left a review. It really helps more solo business owners find the podcast and reminds them they're not alone. Want to chat about this episode or suggest a future topic? You'll find me on Instagram at Libby Langley. See you next week.